Where is he?
Where are you? Skull Rock. Do you know it?
Hello, this is Stacy reporting live from Skull Rock. I am joined by...
Hello, this is Megan. Welcome back to our Stranger Things podcast. This is part 2
Electric Boogaloo
of our little epic recap of our weekend in Jackson, Georgia at the Upside Down EpicCon's epic event where we got to hang out with the cast of Stranger Things. So we already have done part 1. And what did part 1 cover? Give us the little timeline.
Part 1 covered basically us arriving Thursday, visiting a bunch of filming locations, Krill House, Penhurst, Enzo's. Friday was Skull Rock, Hawkins Community Pool, trivia with Mason, cemetery, Max and Billy's house. And then we went into Saturday, which was our first official day at the con, running into everybody, seeing everybody, meeting everybody, including the cast. You met a lot of people. But of course, our big highlight was Mr. Keery. And then, of course, our ice cream social, where, not gonna lie, like, that fucking duck question, that was genius. I don't know. Every once in a while.
I'm so glad that you're proud of yourself for how things turned out with that duck question.
And I love that afterwards, guys, we had to talk about it when we were driving back to the Airbnb. And you even said it, you were like, that could have gone either really well like it did, or it could have really bombed and it just would have been real awkward. And I'm like, I took a chance. And man, they loved me. They just loved me. So
they did. They loved it. They loved that question. Yeah, it was super fun talking about the beginning of our trip. And it's been really fun to just have this outlet to tell everybody about it, but also just to help us remember.
Yes.
And kind of like a little journal entry, because now we'll have this to kind of look back on to relive our trip. So
Dear Diary.
Yeah, Dear Diary.
Yep.
We met Joe Keery, and he was just as dreamy in person.
Just so sensational. There was even a part where somebody asked at the ice cream social, they were like, oh, what do you do for your hair? So he talked about the process, the products that they use and stuff. And then he was like, but naturally, he goes this is just grease,
Yeah.
There's someone who has thick hair, I get it.
It was really funny, actually, because at first he kind of misunderstood the question and he took his hat off and he was like, it's just a little greasy. Like you said, I totally relate as well, because I have long, thick hair and I literally do nothing to it. And people ask me all the time what I do to it. I'm like, I don't wash it.
Yeah.
But then Maya was like, no, Joe, I think that they're talking about on the show, how does Steve's hair look like that? And I was thinking to myself, I feel like this man is done with questions about his hair.
Yep.
But it actually, like you said with the other question, he was so gracious about it and made it into a funny, good question and good experience. Yeah. So I think everybody had the same experience with Joe and with Maya, but especially Joe, just being everything we could have imagined, everything we could have asked for, just such a great guy. And I've seen a couple people post about how it didn't feel like you were interacting with a celebrity.
Not at all. Not at all. And I referred to him as a celebrity to somebody. I was like, this did not feel like a celebrity. This just felt like an average Joe, a regular person. Him and Maya, for being in the industry as long as they have. And they just seem like regular people, not pompous, not snooty, just people that you could see hanging out at a bar and having a beer with. They just seem really laid back, cool people. But Keery was so cool.
Yeah, and that's impressive from Maya, because she did grow up in Hollywood and with parents who are pretty famous people, and to just still be so down to earth, I think is really cool. But like Joe, like he was pretty much just a normal guy,
Hmm.
and he still is just a normal guy. Like,
Yeah.
so
I think the stars aligned for the casting of Steve and Robin. I just think they picked the two best people who just couldn't. No, I can't see anybody else playing that part. And Mason even said that in trivia. Somebody asked, like, "Oh, if you could play another part," he was like, "Of course, Steve." But he goes, "I don't think anybody else could play him besides Joe Keery." And I think Joe Keery playing him, that's the reason why we got Steve for as long as we have, and he wasn't killed off. And the same with Maya. You know, I've read interviews with other actresses who are great actresses who read for the part, and they even said it. They were like, no, this was meant to be. So seeing them sit side by side with Lucky the dog and just kind of shooting the breeze with us was great. We got a really great photo. I had tunnel vision. I was like, Maya, I'm going on Maya's side. But it was so cool. And when we walked out, we got these really cool little ice cream scoopers. Thank you for flying home with mine. I was afraid TSA was going to take it. But I just was so pumped on adrenaline on what a cool experience that was, because that was like a Joe and Maya meet and greet. And our friend Kat, who sat beside us in the front row, we were all kind of like just geeking out on the sidewalk. And what did we do after that?
yeah, so we decided to check out the upside down haunted house experience that they had put on in the basement of the library, which was in the center of the square.
Mhm.
So it was actually Southern Crescent Technical College, which it was their like film department that put this on. So they were college students and they spent hours, like weeks, kind of designing this and putting it all together. And I have to say, the stuff that they made was so impressive. Like, they are talented. Like, I felt like some of those things were, you know,
Like screen used.
yeah, absolutely. They had it was mostly monsters,
Mhm.
like the Demogorgon and Vecna.
Yeah, it was almost like you were in the lab, I guess, and
Yeah.
you got to see all the experiments, and it was worth the wait. We had a ton of fun. As soon as we entered in, I was, of course, the back. I was the caboose, and the first person that jumped out at me, I screamed into Rachel's ear, "I hate haunted houses!" And she's like, "Don't you love horror?" And I'm like, "Yeah!" And I, like, buried my face into her back. So I missed a
Yeah.
lot of it.
I don't like haunted houses either, but I was like, I knew it wasn't gonna be too bad because it's not like it was big.
Yeah.
Like, they weren't charging us to get in, they were just taking donations, and we did wait for a while, but it was kind of entertaining because we got to just chat with the guy who was kind of at the door waiting to let us in,
Mhm.
and it was also really fun because we were just hanging out chatting with Kat and getting to know them,
That
so
was
that was
awesome.
pretty cool, and when we went in, it was pretty quick. It wasn't long,
No,
but like you said, there was like a hand that popped out as soon as we walked in, and I was filming,
I love it. We
and
got this.
I, like, got myself on camera, like, being scared by it, so I'll have to
Mhm.
post that because it was really funny. But then there was, the guy who was cosplaying Vecna, I think his name is Matt.
He was there.
He was in there, which was cool. I guess he was just hanging out, and there was, like, scientists, like you said, and demodogs and demogorgons and, like, people getting dragged away, and just the whole, like, ambiance. You really felt like you were in the show for a hot second.
And
So
I'm glad we did it too, because like I've worked in haunted houses, but I hate being scared, like jumped out at. As a lover of horror, everybody can't believe that about me, but I haven't gone to an actual haunted house in years. So I felt like it was just really fitting. It's October, it's spooky time. It was there. We might as well do it. And we all did have a good laugh over it when we left. We were like, oh wow, so really glad that's how we capped off the night.
yeah, that was a great way to end Saturday. And just to just say one more time about Joe and Maya,
Oh my
because
God.
I I love Steve and Robin,
Hmm.
but that experience just made me love them 100 times
100
more.
times. Yep.
Yeah, I just I can't say enough good
Like,
things.
I'm glad we were all together because it seems like the kind of story, like, if one of us had done it by ourselves and been like, "Oh, and then we asked a question, and they asked a question back, and they did this, and the dog was doing this." It sounds almost made up. But I'm
Yeah.
glad, like, Emma was there, Kat was there, a few other people that we knew were there, and it was such a once in a lifetime experience that I definitely, like, this is a Lost reference, everybody, but I was always like, top 5 greatest hits, top 5 greatest memories. I think that might have made its way into the top 5 because I was like, as a massive, massive fan of not only the show, but these characters and these actors, I'm like, wow, we really were sitting like less than a foot away from them, just talking about life and books and ducks and
Yeah.
horses.
Yeah, I mean, the whole weekend was, like, one of my top 5 experiences,
Yes,
and that was the highlight of the weekend.
absolutely.
So, yeah, we lucked out that we got those tickets. I could not be more grateful, and Saturday was just such an amazing experience.
Hmm.
We didn't talk about Friday night because after the cemetery on Friday night, we went back to the Airbnb and we actually just, like, ordered food from DoorDash because we were exhausted and wanted to kind of, like, get to bed early because we had a big day the next day.
I do love
So
how our brains work, though. You and I were sitting on the couch and we were kind of like thinking about the schedule. And then right away you looked at me and you're like, feel like I need to like write this out. Like, because there's so many tickets, there's so many people I'm meeting. So I'm kind of glad we stayed up to do that.
yeah, so we ate some pizza and then I decided and I actually showed it. We went live on Friday night
Hmm.
just now, so I guess it was October 25th after we recorded the first part of our recap. So we had if you want to check that out, it's saved on our Instagram, but we give some visuals of like things that we've been talking about. So
Yeah.
we showed like the physical tickets that we got, souvenir tickets for the con. And like for every single autograph and photo that you bought, you got like a physical ticket for it. And we showed the things that we both got signed.
Yeah.
And I also showed my envelopes. So
Dude.
I had I had everything on my phone because I had done it in like a Google Doc and made a
Color
chart.
coordinated, by the way.
It's color coordinated, but I was just like, what if something happens to my phone? What if like my charger doesn't work? I had like a portable charger, but I don't know. I was just like, what if?
Never know, man.
Yeah, but also it was just a really good thing to do to help wrap my mind around the next day.
Hmm.
So we sat there. I was on my bed with all my stuff spread out. You and Rachel were on either side of me, and it was just a really cute memory of the
It really
weekend.
was, and we made kind of a good team because I remember at one point you had to use your phone, but you also needed to look at my phone because I took screen caps of your schedule. So you're like, "Can I use my phone?" And I'm like writing on the back of my tickets, and you're like, "You're writing physically on the back of the tickets? You're so much more organized than me." But I have to say, like, it made it, especially for somebody like you that had a lot going on. This was only your second con. Having that visual, I'm sure really helped. And also, like, God bless you for being so organized because there were so many times throughout the weekend, people would go, "Well, where's Megan?" And all I'd do is like pop up on my phone and I'd look at your schedule and I'd be like, "Oh, she's in line to meet Grace." Like, I knew exactly where you were. So it was very, very helpful.
Yeah, it was good. I was glad that I did that. It definitely was a task, but it was worth it to be able to like, get to everything. I wouldn't have been able to get to everything if I hadn't.
I also love that everybody knew I was going to sleep on the couch. Guys, we had room for me to bunk with either Megan or Rachel. Oh no, right away, everyone looked at the sectional couch and they were like, Stacy's going to claim it. And I slept like a log. It was great.
It was a great couch. That was like one of the big selling points of that Airbnb was
Love a
I love
sectional.
yeah, I love a good couch in an Airbnb because especially when you're staying with like a bunch of people, like you need to be able to sit and be comfortable. So,
Yeah.
speaking of being comfortable, my feet did not hurt
Oh my
at
God.
all. Just a little humble brag here.
I'm not even kidding you. My very, very good friend, Melissa, she got me Croc flats because I wear some ugly ass shoes. And they were just plain black Croc flats, but I asked for like, I should have gone up one more size. So they felt like plastic can openers cutting open the tops of my feet. I was in a lot of pain. Not my best move. Meanwhile, this fucking girl, she goes, I'm in no pain at all. Look at these. And it just, tell me you're in your 30s without telling me you're in your 30s, that an orthopedic shoe, I was jealous of that weekend.
Yeah. Actually, so I got these from Stitch Fix because I never would have thought of that. But I've done Stitch Fix in the past. The past year or so, I haven't gotten anything from Stitch Fix because I've been trying to like save money slash I have other things that I've been spending money on,
True.
like this convention.
Yeah, true that.
So I was like, let me get a box from Stitch Fix. Let me tell them what I'm doing because you like write what you want and I'll see what they send me. So actually the black long sleeve bodysuit that
That
I'm
was
wearing on
cute.
Saturday, that was from Stitch Fix. Never would have bought that for myself and I loved it.
I think that was your best look all weekend.
Yeah, and I would agree.
Mm-hmm.
But the white shoes that they sent me, they were just white sneakers. You wouldn't have been able to tell, but they were Dr. Scholl's brand. And they were the most comfortable thing that I've ever worn. There was no like wearing them in. I had taken Leia on a walk and worn them once to like just see if they were comfortable. And they were. And I was like, okay, well, I don't want to get them dirty. I
Yeah.
want to keep them nice and fresh. So
Oh, we are such
I wore
opposites.
them. Yeah. I wore them on Saturday and my feet felt great.
You
My
were
feet,
dancing on clouds. Like you
yeah.
were dancing in Joe Keery's hair if they were made out of shoes.
Yeah.
Like you were living your best life. And like there was one point at the cemetery Friday night, Meghan looked at me and was like, you're all covered in like red dirt. And I'm like, I don't care. And I just like was brushing it off. I looked like Pigpen from the Peanuts comics. Like it was
Yeah.
bad.
It was funny. Highly recommend because there's other styles as well. So check out the Dr. Scholl's sneakers on Stitch Fix.
And
Like
this is not a
this is not
sponsored ad,
sponsored.
but maybe someday, guys. Fingers crossed.
Sponsor me, Stitch Fix.
Oh my God, I can't stand you, but I love you at the same time. So one thing I want to bring up was over the weekend, I very rarely wear a lot of makeup. They always said in makeup school, you either go with a lip story or an eye story. And I decided to use my Stranger Things ColourPop palette. I did kind of like blue sparkles and stuff. I liked how my makeup came out. I think I looked pretty cute without bragging. Your makeup girl, on the other hand, was fucking banging. And I say that in the best way possible. Like as someone who doesn't wear a ton of foundation and stuff, you looked so natural in all the photos and you looked stunning. Like I'm not hitting on you, but I kind of am. Like you looked amazing.
Thank you. That was a lot of research that went into that as well because I don't wear makeup.
Mhm.
So the last time I had bought makeup was before my party for my wedding.
Mhm.
And that was like an outdoor summer thing. And I just had bought makeup over a year ago. So like I had to buy all new makeup. So
With
I was
your
like,
makeup research, what kind of research did you go for?
yeah. So I was looking for makeup that would look good in photos.
Okay.
That's what I specifically looked up. So makeup that would look natural
Mhm.
and photograph well.
Yeah.
So let me think if I can remember any of the brands. The foundation was Makeup Forever, I
Okay.
think is the
Yep.
brand. And it was like a matte foundation.
Mhm.
I ended up going with Fenty, which I think is Rihanna's
Oh,
makeup
okay. Yep.
for the primer. My primer, this is a really sad part of the story. Loved it so much. Glass bottle, Monday in the Airbnb after I'd taken you guys all to the airport. I was like, let me do a little bit of primer and powder just for a lighter makeup look on Monday
Yep.
because I was going to like the Vampire Diaries tour and I knew I would be taking more photos. Dropped the primer
Oh,
on the
girl.
tile floor of the bathroom and it broke. So that was really sad, but I'm definitely going to get more because I loved that primer.
Mhm.
So highly recommend. I also got the setting powder from Fenty
Mhm.
and it was really good. And
How much of a bitch was that to clean up?
it luckily like broke, but like didn't splatter
Bladder?
everywhere.
Good, yeah.
Yeah. So it wasn't too bad. I also did a blush. I think the blush was Tarte and the bronzer. Oh, I can't remember, but I did bronzer on my eyelids and just one coat of mascara
Hmm.
and a lip color
You didn't do
that was like
eyeliner?
kind of no, I didn't have eyeliner on.
You looked good because I always feel like eyeliner is what like finishes it off. You look in some of those photos like you have it on. So that's really good makeup, dude.
Ilia is my mascara, which
Oh,
was
okay.
supposed to be good for like sensitive eyes because sometimes I feel like mascara like is not fun for me.
Hmm.
And my lip color
Your
was
lips looked great. Yeah.
Charlotte Tilbury.
Okay.
I think my bronzer, that was also my bronzer brand.
Hmm.
And oh, House Labs, which is Lady Gaga's makeup line.
Oh, well, we love her. So that's great.
That was my concealer and
That was
that was
Megan's way of
great.
celebrating the release of Joker 2.
I have no idea what that means.
Keep it in. The audience will love it.
Then I had a brow gel,
You're doing good.
which
Damn.
was Benefit brand. And
I just did
yeah,
my eyes and I'm like, I'm fucking exhausted. Good for you.
that was it. And I set it all with some L'Oreal Infallible 3-second setting mist.
Oh, love a setting mist. Love it.
Yeah. And for when I wasn't wearing makeup, I was relying on this ColourPop waffle lip mask as sort of like a lip balm.
Dude, I wish I
It's
picked that up
fantastic.
because after this trip, my lips were dry as shit. I think it was the plane. I don't know. But I was like, my lips are never like chapped. Ew. So no, but Megan looks fantastic, like $1,000,000. Your outfits were all very cute. I liked your strategy of like putting stuff on top of stuff. So not all of your photos looked the same. I liked the t-shirts I picked. I did Camp Lovers Lake, which I will
That was
find out.
great.
I'll find out the name of it. I know Tess wore the same shirt the next day. And then I
Uh-huh.
wore my shirt that had the 4 teenagers, the 44, on it by our friend Mars, which was so funny. They were like, "Oh my God, you're wearing my shirt, technically your shirt, meeting Joe Keery." And I was like, Sisterhood of the Traveling Shirt. So it's magic. But I think we all looked really cute looks and stuff. And we weren't like, besides my can't open her shoes, we weren't uncomfortable because there was a lot of standing on a cement floor, but that's the same like in any convention.
You wore your pin on Sunday, didn't you?
I
The family
did.
video pin?
Yes, I
Yeah.
did. So I have all these really great enamel pins of all the characters, and my favorite set has to be Robin and Steve from Family Video. And I meant to wear a green headband with it, but I was like, red's my signature. So I rocked that. I'm glad it got into some of the photos because I wear that pin on my headband like at work randomly. And it confuses so many people who haven't seen the show. They're like, who are these people? But no, a lot of fun, just kind of rocking our little looks and stuff. And I have to say, one of my favorite parts of going to these kind of cons, especially one that's just zeroed in on one fandom, we got to see so many cool cosplays, outfits, t-shirts, like just amazing stuff. I saw t-shirts I had never even seen before,
Yeah.
people's bags. I saw somebody had a custom Kate Spade bag that I told you about that they had painted or had somebody paint Steve and Eddie on it. Like, I was blown away by all the cool shit that you just take in while waiting in line. Let's talk about our Sunday, our final day at the con, which
Yeah. So we had to get up a little earlier and we dropped Brandy off at her meet and greet with Caleb. So we're excited to talk to her about that because that was, I think she said, the highlight of her weekend.
she was pumped, and we almost dropped her off at like just a residential
The
house.
wrong house.
Oh, could you? I kept making jokes. I was like, it's like some old man reading his morning paper. And Brandy just walks in. She's like, here for the meet and greet. And she's arrested for breaking and entering. But yeah, we
Yeah.
can't wait to hear about that experience.
I had bottled water in my bag that day because I knew from the
We
day
weren't.
before
Yeah.
to bring it. We had actually stopped at a gas station specifically on Saturday night to stock up. So let me break out my schedule.
Let's see what Meghan had to do.
I started out with a photo with Caleb, which was really fun.
I love that.
And I also went straight to a photo with Gaten and Gabriella, who played Susie on Stranger
Love
Things.
that.
So I was wearing my red Hawkins, Indiana Beyond Epic sweatshirt
Yep.
for those 2 photos. And then I went and did the photo op with Joe and Gaten with you and Brandy.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was like a birthday present for you, maybe. I can't remember.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're welcome.
it happened all very fast. I got my sassy hand on my hip, which I don't know why I kept doing that. Everybody asked, they were like, is that some kind of posing trick? And I'm like, no, I'm just awkward and I don't know where to put my hand. So I just was giving the side hip,
I
sass.
do it. I do it. I love
Yeah,
it.
see, it's our signature move. But that was really cool. Now, did you go for Joe's autograph next, or were you getting other autographs? Like, what was next on your schedule?
Yeah, actually, I went for Joe's autograph next, and I forgot to say that when I was in line for my first couple photos, they did pull me to go do my autograph with Millie
Okay.
because she was kind of trying to squeeze in her whole Saturday schedule into like the first hour of Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So they were moving fast for that stuff.
Fast and
And
Furious. Yep.
her line had died down a little bit, but she was still going to be at her table for a few more minutes. So they were just pulling anybody who had a Millie autograph to go grab that.
Yeah.
So ran over there, got her to sign like a season 4 photo. I think I said this in the live, maybe. I don't remember. Her pen was like rolling off the table and I had to grab it.
She was
So
doing it with her mind. Yeah.
yeah. But then I came back over after the photos to get my first autograph with Joe that day.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up doing 2 at the same time because
We weren't together, correct?
I don't think so. No. I don't know what you were doing at the time. But those were 2 more autographs that I was getting for other people. So
Because we were together for the Kelly print, correct?
maybe I was behind you a little bit in line.
Because you like to watch. Yeah, you were
Yeah.
behind me. Yep.
Yeah, I was behind you a little bit in line because they would let somebody go and then they would take a couple people from VIP. So I was with you, but then we kind of got separated because of the VIP situation. So I was like a little bit behind you. This was
Yes.
when you got Kelly's print signed.
Yeah, that was cool because Brandy went first, and she'll talk about that. So then it was me, and I knew I had 2 autographs with him Sunday. One at this time, and the early morning, and then one in the evening. So I got our friend Kelly, Joe Keery Daily. I got a print that she made. I love his song "Figure You Out," and I discovered it very late, but total banger of a song. So I got this really cool print that I'm a huge fan of, signed by him. And I had been debating this. I was like, Maya obviously noticed the tattoos the night before the ice cream social, as did Joe. So I was like debating, and I was like, one of the worst things ever is when you choke up in front of a celebrity. I've done it twice. And, it's usually about talking about a dead loved one. And then you're that guy and it's awkward. So I remember telling you ahead of time, I was like, I don't know, we'll see how the mood feels. So he's obviously a talker. And I was like, all right, I'm going to do the Cliff Notes version. I'm going to do this really quick. But I laid it down and, he, first of all, the handler was like, oh my God, this is gorgeous. And he was like, oh, wow, this is so cool. And I was like, yeah, my friend Kelly made it. And he said, you might have to help me with this. He went like, oh, I've heard a lot about this, Kelly. And you laughed or something. And you guys locked eyes.
It was so funny. Like he was like, oh, Kelly, I've heard a lot about Kelly. And somehow he looked up at me. And so I don't know. I was kind of far away from the table. So I don't know if maybe I laughed, but I don't remember laughing or just giggled or nodded my head. And he looks up and makes eye contact with me and points. And I was like, yeah, we all love Kelly.
It was fantastic. And
I was like, it's happening again. He keeps talking to me while other people are getting their autographs.
Like a moth to the flame, baby. He loved you. But it was so cool to hear him say that about Kelly, that she's such a fan. So as he's signing it in gold Sharpie, I was like, well, Joe, I noticed, like, I said something along the lines of like, oh yeah, Maya pointed out my tattoos last night. And he was like, yeah, they look so awesome. And I said, yeah, and this is kind of like how I did the version because I knew there was a good punchline at the end. So I was going to take something sad, but make it funny. Classic Stacy. So I pointed to the one that I got for my birthday, summer 2023. I know this is your favorite, season 2, Steve. And right away I went, 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, my dad passed away, and that fucking eye contact got me right away. Like, I know this man's an actor, but he like sincerely like was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And right away I'm like, "Oh my God, oh my God." And I'm like, just keep going, just keep going. So I just went, yeah. And I said, our thing was kind of when I was taking care of him was watching Stranger Things. And I said, towards the end, he didn't even know who me and my sister were really. And he didn't really know what was going on. But I just recently got this tattoo done. And I came in and he went, "Oh, Steve." Joe's fucking face. Guys, an angel is walking amongst us. And like, I felt myself starting to choke up because he just looked so goddamn touched, And I'm telling you guys, I know he's an actor. He seems like the kind of guy that was touched. So I right away was like, oh my God. So I just went, yeah, but, and this is classic Stacy from Mass. I go, but, yeah. So a week later at his funeral, I went, my fucking aunt, I said fucking in front of Joe Keery, classic. And I went, my fucking aunt walked up to me, my elderly aunt, grabbed my arm and went, "Is that Patrick Swayze?" And luckily he found it as funny as I did. And we laughed about it. And I go, that's all I can think about now. So he went, "Hey, I'll take it." He was a legend. So I, of course, laughed. And I just I had to take a second. I said, but thank you so much for that memory. I said, clearly your character kind of like must have just really popped out to my dad. And I have those great memories of watching this show with you and my late father. And he just was like, thank you so much for telling me that. Guys, you know me, I'm a silly goose, but telling that story, I've never choked up before. He listens to every goddamn word you say. You're like, he is good. And just, it really I'm so glad I took the time to tell him that quick story because not only did I make him laugh, but I did tell him about my late dad. And it was just really, really sweet and special why that tattoo stood out to me. So, of course, I walked away in a fucking haze. My friend Billy was there and he tried to talk to me. And I was like, no, not right now. But then you went.
Fucking Billy.
Fucking Billy. So tell me, what is your experience? Because you were behind me. I didn't get to watch it.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm about to cry listening to you tell that story. That is so sweet.
Thank you. Thank you.
I was watching him, but I couldn't hear you because I was a little ways back. So can confirm that he was so locked in on you and I do remember hearing him say "Oh, I'll take that compliment." And I was like, oh, she must have gotten to the Patrick Swayze part.
Yes.
So I think I forgot yesterday to talk about when I was with Rachel to get her autograph. She got the Dork magazine signed.
Oh, yeah.
And
how'd that go?
It was just funny because I felt bad for talking to him during her autograph, but she had told me I don't know what to say. And I love that sweater on that magazine. That was my phone background for a little while. So I kind of asked him, was the sweater comfortable?
Goodbye.
And he was like, yeah, I loved that sweater. It was very Kurt Cobain. And I was like, okay.
You're like, okay, Joe, sit down.
And then, like I said, I was a few people behind you because they had pulled some people for VIP. And so by the time I got up to him, you were gone.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know why I said this to him, but I was getting things signed for other people, like I said, and I was doing 2 at the same time. And I said to him, Stacy, the one with the tattoos, said that I'm like Santa Claus.
I'm sure he loved that.
And I was like, but it's really stressful. So I don't know why I'm doing this to myself. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, why did I just tell him that I was stressed out by getting his autograph?
I bet you he was locked in, smiling and laughing along because that's Keery.
Yeah, but one of the things was the tarot card, and I talked a little bit more, I think, in the episode that we just recorded today
Or in our
about it?
secret segment. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can listen to that. That's our episode that'll come out on November 1st.
Whoop.
But his manager
Yeah.
did like look up what the tarot card meant, and
I
don't know, it was
love
like
that. They were
a
that
little
into it.
awkward. Yeah, but they were like real into it. And like I said in our last episode, like I was like BFFs with that guy too. So uh
Vaping and eating strawberry gelato.
yeah, I don't know if we talked about the vaping part.
Well, I'll tell you, Meghan literally is on her way out of the ice cream shop, sees Keery's manager, agent, whoever, and he's like in the alleyway, like dragging a vape. And what did you say? You were like, how was that strawberry? Like,
I did. He was like, it was actually really good. Like, and I agreed. I was like, yeah, that was pretty good gelato, like for a random place in Jackson, Georgia.
I cannot.
Yeah. So obviously he remembered me from the night before. So we were chatting it up.
Love that.
But anyway, I had another chat with Joe, knowing that like I wasn't going to see him as many more times. I was starting to get a little sad.
Yeah.
I had a really busy time for the rest of the day because after that I went to, you switched with me, which was awesome.
Got you, babe.
Because I was supposed to get Maya's autograph next.
Yes.
But I really wanted to try to get Maya to sign one of my photo ops. So you were nice enough to switch with me. So I was able to do a photo with Maya earlier in the day and save the autograph for the end of the day.
Nice.
But I did get a photo with Grace, who was very sweet.
She's awesome.
I had a photo with Amy Beth, and this is what I was saying on our last episode. She was fantastic. I added that photo with her last minute and was so glad that I did because she was just having the time of her life. She was hugging everyone when they came in, taking a really sweet photo.
I gotta be honest, I regret not meeting her because it was her first con ever,
Yeah.
and she seemed like she was having a ball.
Yeah, she really was. I said, like, are you having a good day? And she was like, I'm having the best day. Thank you so much. And I loved her so much. So getting to meet her was really cool. I also did a photo with just Gaten by himself.
Cool.
And I did an autograph with Caleb. Got him to sign a picture from season 4 as well.
I love that one, yeah. And everyone was super nice, I'm assuming, and just chill.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they were great. I'm trying to remember. I also had my photo with Millie at some point in there. She was good. She was sitting because, again, she had a crazy schedule. So she was sitting on a chair, which she was the only one that was sitting, but it was a cute photo. I love her photos with kids. Like, I feel like she was really great with kids.
With little ones, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Alec and Andre.
Oh, yeah.
So I got a photo with them, which was really cute.
I'm telling you, and I said this in the live, so me and Brandy got a photo with Alec at one point because my Sunday was pretty calm compared to yours. And it happened so fast, but as I walked on, I looked at Brandy and I went, damn, he's cute. Like, woo.
Yeah, he was a good-looking guy.
Sometime, I don't even know when, but me and Andy, Brandy's husband, we like had nothing to do. So we were able to catch Joe, Grace, and Mason's panel. And we had pretty good seats.
I'm so jealous. Yeah, tell us about that.
Yeah, I was bummed that you were like obviously in line and stuff. So I tried to soak it all in, but and hopefully Epic, I think they did film it, so they probably will release something soon.
I hope so.
Cara, she hosted it. So she did several questions. She did a this and or that round. Like, what's one of the first things you do in the morning? And then they opened it up to fan questions. But the stampede of fans, and it was a lot of younger kids, me and Andy were like, holy shit. But like they had to obviously cap it because they had other commitments, but it was just really, really cute. They kind of asked guilty pleasure shows. Grace and Mason said Love Island. Joe said Survivor, early seasons. What's one thing you couldn't live without? And Joe was like, brushing my teeth. They gave Mason a ton of shit. She asked tea or coffee, and he was like, well, this is kind of a complex answer. And Cara was not having it. She was like, it's one or the other. So he was like, well, I like to sip tea at night. And Grace was busting his balls about that. She was like, you can't live without sipping your tea. So they were dying about that. They talked about songs that would save them from back now. I'm blanking on Mason's. Grace was Billy Joel's Uptown Girl, and Keery's was Toto's Hold the Line, which he said, and he was dead serious. He goes, it's the perfect blend between genius and cheesy. And I'm like, okay, all right. And he just talked about how he has four sisters. I think one is older, the rest are younger. And he said that he's always just kind of like looked after them and stuff. So the babysitting thing kind of came natural. And it just like, how who they met during the, script readings and stuff. I wish it had been longer because it was so cool. But there are some really great fan questions in which they did ask. Love that a fan did this. They asked, Gaten asked JQ, I think the summer before, they're on a sinking ship. It's between him or Joe Keery. Who would he save? So he was like, you, of course. Then as soon as Gaten left, JQ like leaned into his microphone. He goes, it's definitely Joe Keery. So when they asked Keery, without even hesitating, he goes, Joseph Quinn. He goes, I'm sure Gaten's a great swimmer. He'll be able to, he'll figure it out. So super, super funny. A lot of fun to watch. And I just love that they had Cara kind of being the moderator. There were great moderators like Chris and stuff. But this one was just really intimate and really cool. And, even if you didn't have a good seat, they had those big screens going. So it was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, I'm sad that I missed that. I hope that the full panel gets posted at some point. I know that he also did a panel with Maya and Priya
Yep.
on Saturday. So can't wait to see that. But I have seen a couple of the clips from the panel that you're talking about. And when he was talking about the babysitting thing, it was really sweet because he was like, they were taking care of me. Like that was just like melted my heart.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was sweet. I did have a break at some point. It was like an hour-long break, and I did try to go outside and get some food, but the line for the food was just a little bit longer than I could really wait just because I needed to get back inside. So I did chat with some people while I was out there. I got to meet Kevin, who was a police officer in the show.
Mm-hmm.
So that was pretty cool because he said he listened to our show.
Oh, love that.
And that was awesome. And Adam Murray was out there, who played that townsperson that kind of like agrees with Jason at the town hall and ends up seeing Erica on the playground.
Yeah.
So I got to meet him, and I think we talked to him a little bit more at dinner later that night with Cubby. But who else was out there that we haven't talked about? Aiden Fisher, who was the guy who played Master of Puppets as the double for Joseph Quinn, was there, and he actually played each afternoon at the convention.
Yes, he did. On the strike of noon. If you were wondering what time it was, you knew it was noon because Aiden it was kind of cool, the intro too, on the sound system. It was like the clock chiming, and then he would get on, and I am just in awe of people in general playing guitar, but he is clearly very, very talented. He would play Master of Puppets, so it was just really cool to see live.
Yeah, that was cool that we were like there and that was happening, and you could definitely hear that. You could not always hear the panels when you were in line, but you could hear Master of Puppets.
Yeah,
so that was awesome. So now we're at the end of the day, and the end of the day was stressful.
It was.
There were four autograph tables in the room, and somehow I was supposed to be at all 4 of those
At
tables
the same exact time.
at the same time.
So
Yeah.
girlfriend, and this was, I had one last Keery autograph towards the end of the day, and then Brandy wanted to do a photo with Mason, but I had met Maya Hawke. I got her autograph. She was super cool. It was a print of the teenagers touching the lights, and she, explained to me, she said this was one of the hardest, scenes to film. And she remembered me from the night before about tattoos. And she was like, no, you better get a Robin tattoo next. So guys, I got to do what I got to do. But she was super, super sweet, but I just remember after the panel, me and Andy went back into the autograph room. We sit our asses down on the concrete floor and we're looking at all these long lines. And Andy asked if I wanted a sweet tea. And I'm like, when in Georgia? Come on, guys. So I'm sipping on my sweet tea, and I must have forgot that we had a game plan.
Well, it was tough because there was like Joe autograph group 3 and Joe autograph group 4. And I know that it wasn't time for your autograph group yet,
Mm-hmm.
but people were just all getting in line together and they were all mixed up.
Mm-hmm.
And I see you sitting over there on the ground and I'm like, why isn't Stacy in that line? Like Stacy needs to get in that line. And Rachel was like running all over the place for me, like holding my place in line. And I was like, I need to get Stacy in that line.
You were like, this son of a bitch is sipping sweet tea right now. It's go time. No, she just like locked eyes with me and she's like, Stacy. And she motions to the line. I'm like, yeah. And she's like, why aren't you going to line? So that kind of lit a fire under my ass, but I'm glad I got in line when I did because holy shit,
Yeah. Well, I think that you stood in line for a little while, but then you had to go get your photo with
Mason.
Brandy for
Which
Mason.
was amazing because I explained this to the volunteers, and this was the great thing about overlapping. And they went to the person behind me, they went, save her space in line. And they were like, yeah, cool. So that stranger, thank you. So I ran over, and this is kind of when I started hitting a wall. I was in line with Brandy, and I was that meme of that guy with the sunglasses that's like, I'm straight up not having a good time. I was just anxious, and I looked at Brandy, and I went, how have you and Meghan done this all weekend? Thank God the staff is so amazing, but I'm just like, the stress of having to be in 2 places at once. And, Brandy was like, yeah, it is what it is. But I was like, man, you guys are great. I can barely handle this. But got the photo with Mason, came out really cute. And then I ran back over, but I knew that you and Brandy had meet and greets. And at least, because Gaten's was probably going to, like, not start exactly on time because of his line, but I knew Brandy's was going to be starting on time. So all I had to say was say that to the staff member, and they went, okay, priority. And they had me basically cut. They were doing that to people who had, other commitments. And it was just so nice. But I brought my postcard of Steve and Eddie. I had JQ had signed it in New Orleans. And I felt like I was like just so rushed that, Keery is just being his amazing, charming self. He like pointed down at the Eddie one. He goes, oh, you're on the inside. I love this guy. And I'm like, like I was done. And then he goes, oh yeah, that's great. This is cool. I love this guy. And I'm like, And then he said it one more time and I almost started cracking up. And in my head, I'm like, oh, Meghan, you're with me in spirit. But as usual, like just so charming. And then I was done. Now, what were you doing at that time?
Yeah. So I was trying to save Joe for last, and I had Noah, Maya, and she signed my photo op and was really sweet. And I told her that we had fun at the ice cream social. I told her that I had been at her show at the 930 Club in DC, and that I was excited for her to come back to DC when she's touring again next year. So she was really sweet about that and said thank you. Then I ended up getting in Gaten's line with Rachel.
Yes.
She had brought a push pop, which apparently that was like a meme for a little while, with like this video of Gaten looking at candy and finding a push pop and like saying like push pop. And I had never seen it until we were like standing in line, and she showed it to me and I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, we have to give that to him. And so she gave it to him, which was really funny. And he was like, oh yeah, that video really had a moment.
I can't.
that was cool. And I told him that I was coming to his meet and greet in a little bit. And he was like, well, what time is that? And I was like, soon. He was like, well, what time? And I was like, 6, I think. And he was like, well, what time is it now? And he started like freaking out. And I was like, 5:17. And like the volunteer that was sitting there with him was like, it's okay. We have time.
I cannot.
He definitely was late, but I'll talk about the meet and greet in a little bit. Then finally, I had to go to Joe's and I told the volunteer that I had a meet and greet and that my friend had a meet and greet. And they put me in VIP and I went up to Joe and whew, to mentally prepare for this.
Right.
I knew that that was like my last thing that I was doing and I was kind of grateful.
Yeah.
And again, this was partially you buying this ticket because I feel like you last minute decided we needed one more autograph.
Yep. Or
And
the table.
yeah, and I had an extra autograph with Maya, so we ended up like trading
It was
so that
kismet.
you could get your autograph with Maya
Mm-hmm.
because at that point then they both sold out. So
Yeah.
then I like went on because I had gone on later and said like let me buy one more autograph with Joe and they had sold out and you had just bought it. So you basically got like the last autograph and then ended up giving it to me, which I'm super grateful for. So thanks. I just wanted to like say thank you and say goodbye because that was the last time I was going to see him for the weekend. And I don't exactly remember everything about the interaction, but it was really sweet. And I grabbed a photo of him that was on the table that I had been eyeing because it's a really good photo and thanked him. And he kind of like stopped talking and looking at me because he was looking down at the signature
Mm-hmm.
and he like wrote me like a note on
So
my
cute.
photo. So I did share it in my stories a couple times, but now I'm kind of like I kind of want to stop sharing it and just keep it to myself
It's yours, baby doll.
because it was really sweet and it was just like very I just feel like we were just hanging out all
Yeah.
weekend. And I mean, obviously everybody felt like that with him too because he was amazing,
Mm-hmm.
but just like for him to acknowledge that too was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I did not see this coming, but I walk out of the autograph room and I'm fine. And then all of a sudden it like hits me that it's
Yep.
over and I just like started sobbing and thank God Rachel was with me because I was like I didn't want to mess my makeup up because I still had to go to the meet and greet, but I was like crying and also I was like leaving and I felt like we were in a hurry to get to the meet and greets, but like it was just like I was just sad about everything, about like the
Mm.
whole weekend being over because we had been looking forward to that for so long.
Yep.
And just getting to like say goodbye to Joe as like the last thing that I did was pretty cool. And I saw Dev on our way out and was just like laughing at myself that I was crying.
Yep.
But I called you. I think you were in the bathroom getting sick.
I was
So
puking. Skull Rock broadcast wasn't doing so good. One was crying and the other co-host was puking.
yeah, so we were not doing so hot, but then I called Brandy and she was watching the panel and I was like thinking to myself, like, what panel? And it was
This
Chris's
is panel,
panel.
yeah.
So I wish that I had like gone over and saw at least like a few minutes of it, but I was just like in
You
another
had a lot
world.
going on, and
Yeah.
I caught a few minutes of it. It was fabulous. Which, by the way, guys, no, I do not have the flu. I was not sick. I just have really bad motion sickness. You will learn that
Yeah.
in the other segment. But yeah, I was hurling in the can, and I just hear like, oh, they're at the car. So when I came out, you could tell Meghan had been crying. I'm like, you okay there?
Yeah. And also Emma, I see Emma on the way
Oh
out and I'm
yeah.
like hugging her because I'm crying. And I feel like she had been crying like the day before, like right after her first interaction with Joe. And
Mhm.
But then she came back over and was like, "We didn't get a photo." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, Emma, like I'm literally crying."
Boohoo
But
crying, yeah.
you can't really tell. I mean, you can tell if you know that I'm crying in the photo, but it's not like super obvious. But yeah, it was just like a release of
It
like
was.
lots of emotions and stress and good stress,
And
but
it
like
shows too, like, how
yeah.
much this show means to you. You know, this was a huge event, and we keep saying it, but the fact that we were lucky enough to attend this con when they were filming the final season, the stars just aligned. So it was like the grand finale, you know, where
Yeah.
there were
Yeah.
tears and vomit.
Absolutely. It seems fitting that
Yeah.
that's how we ended it.
Yeah.
We did go back to the car and head back into town, and Brandy went to her meet and greet with Alec and Andre. I went to my meet and greet with Gaten, and you walked me over and
I did.
dropped me off
Make good choices. Yep.
like a proud parent.
Hmm.
And I don't know what you guys did during that
We were
time.
doing hood rat stuff. We were rolling dice. No, we went to Hawkins headquarters, which was really cool. And then we ended up hanging out outside the ice cream shop as Mason was having his event. So there was the sheets that were up over the windows, and we were able to hang with Haley and Steve and Cinco. So it was really cool as people were walking by on the side, walk. But I kept looking at the town hall, being like, Megan's in there. So tell us about that.
Yeah, well, actually, you know who else was in there at the same time?
Oh,
I can't wait to talk to Emma because Emma was at Joe Keery's meet and greet on Sunday. So Joe's meet and greet and Gaten's meet and greet were both inside of the library on Sunday evening.
Mhm.
And I was like, wishful thinking. I was like, why don't they just do it together?
Could you imagine? Jesus.
I would have died. I was like, I almost don't want that because I've already cried about like leaving this man once. Like, I think I might not survive seeing
Yep.
him for another 45 minutes, but there was a fire alarm happening. So I kind of like think it's funny that I got to experience this because the people who were at Joe Keery's meet and greet, they started his meet and greet while that fire alarm was still happening
I cannot.
because that man had a flight to get to that evening.
Mhm.
So he was on a time crunch. And I think it's funny because I've heard some stories about like when the fire alarm finally went off, like he like just screamed at the ceiling or something.
Can't with him.
But I really want to hear more from somebody who was at that meet and greet
Mm.
because we were bummed that we didn't get one of the meet and greets
Mhm.
with Joe. We had tried for it, but the ice cream social more than made up for that,
Oh, yeah.
obviously. But they didn't bring Gaten in until the fire alarm had finally gotten turned off.
Mhm.
And I don't know if that was because they were just waiting for it to get turned off or if he was still in his line signing for people. I think it was probably a combination of both.
Yeah.
But it was funny because we were sitting in the room. I was chatting with Sydney, who was there, who actually listens to the show. Hi,
He
Sydney.
said,
And they were trying to get the fire alarm off. Like, apparently the fire department was there and couldn't turn it off. So it was like a false alarm. It wasn't actually a fire.
it's because
So
Joe Keery's so hot. He set it off.
yeah. So then Gaten came in finally and we just got to chat with him for like 40 minutes or so.
That's
It
cool.
felt longer. Like it felt like a long time that we got to talk to him. And I definitely don't remember everything, but it was so cool to get to talk to him. I feel like I said something on the podcast that we recorded today about he was talking about the practical effects in season 2 and how the spores that were floating around in the air were actually like dandelion seeds
I
and
love that.
made Finn have an allergic reaction. There was one point where I was trying to like remember all of the questions that we had talked about with Hannah Sarah
Mhm.
because I was like, man, like I should have written some of these down so I
Mm.
like was prepared with questions to ask, but I actually was thinking about your question, which was what's your favorite 80s movie?
Love that.
And he actually said it. So he was talking about how when the season comes out, they have to do a lot of press and it's
Mm.
like a whirlwind. So they'll get off the plane, go see the Eiffel Tower, sit in a room, get asked what our favorite 80s movie is, and then get
Damn.
back on a plane. And
Right
I
away,
was
you're like,
like,
I'm not asking that. Yep.
"No, I did." It was funny. I played it cool, I feel like, because I was like, as soon as he said that, I was like, "So what's your favorite 80s movie?"
That's amazing. I love that.
Yeah. So his answer was funny because I was trying to remember everything he said. He was like, "I don't wanna say something, like, boring." Like, he was like, to prepare for the show, they had us watch The Goonies,
Mm.
Stand By Me. What was the other one he said?
E.T.
E.T., yeah, and he was like, "I kinda wanna say something cool, like, maybe, like, Labyrinth." And I was like, "Okay," and then he was like, "But, I mean, Jaws, like, everybody says Jaws is an '80s movie, but it was I don't know, 75?" Like,
Yep.
yeah,
Only part 3 and 4 were 80s.
yeah, yeah, so and then finally he was like, "Oh, Empire Strikes Back. That's my answer. Empire Strikes Back." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I love you so
See, you
much."
you asked him one of those thinking questions, and look, Star Wars fan, love it.
I know, exactly. I was like, "That was perfect." So he got there in the end, but he had, like, a whole process to, like, go through before
Yeah.
he got there, and it was cool to hear him just talk about how we actually somebody asked him about the Broadway play, and he somehow I announced to the whole room that I was going on the first night.
Hell yeah.
So maybe Gaten will show up and surprise me there, but he
Yeah.
was talking about how he wants to be able to, like, do things like that as, like, a fan of the show, but it's difficult because he'll be recognized and, like, there's that pressure and that just, like, everybody wanting to, like, kind of interact with him, so he's
True.
not really able to, like, participate in things like that in the way that he would like to participate in
Yeah.
them. So, that was kind of an interesting take on it because he was like, "Yes, like, you can do the VIP route, but, like, you're not really, like, having the same experience
Experience, yep.
as everybody else who gets to go and see it." I think somebody was asking him about, like, whether he could go to, like, Halloween Horror Nights or something like that to do the
Mm,
Stranger Things stuff, and he's like, "I can't, like, I
no.
can't
Too
do it
recognizable,
because"
yeah.
yeah, and he was talking about how during the COVID, he ended up, like, working at a restaurant for a little while, and he was wearing a mask and a hat, and, like, people still recognized him, so
Mhm.
he, like, couldn't keep working there, like, so it was he was joking about it, but it was kind of interesting to hear about, like, just how much, like, them being on this show, like, affects their
Yeah.
daily life and the way that they're able to interact with things, so definitely something to kind of think about,
And
but
especially if you see them out in public, they all seem like very friendly people, but this is just my own personal thing. Even though they're very approachable and very friendly, if they're having dinner with people, if they seem to be out with their friends, leave them be. Is it really worth a selfie? Like imagine, that's a lot. And even though they're very gracious and they seem so happy to talk to fans, I don't think I would ever approach somebody for a photo if they were like out with their family or friends. So
yeah.
just be respectful fans, people.
Yeah, yeah, definitely keep that in mind if you're ever in that position, like, kind of consider that because I know you want to, like, be able to, like, have that experience with them, but luckily, we were able to have this experience in a way that was respectful because
Hmm.
they also had signed up to be there,
Yep.
like, so, yeah, it was really, really cool. We got to take a selfie. I remembered to do the little screen recording when I
That
took the
was cute.
selfie
Yeah.
because I forgot to do that with Natalia, and I think it's always kinda cute to have, like, a video of the selfie too.
Hmm.
I didn't end up getting selfies at the convention because they did add a bunch of selfies
It
at the
did.
last minute, and I was kinda bummed. I was like, "Oh, it would've been cool to, like, get some selfies with people too," but I had photo ops with everybody, so I was like, "I don't really need both."
Mm.
But yeah, that was our last official thing of the con on Sunday.
We were able to stop by Hawkins headquarters, which was super, super
Yes.
cool.
I'm glad I got to go in there because the arcade in the back where the Duffer Brothers
That was
kinda
awesome.
went in and played video games, that was pretty cool. They had just, like, a really cool setup for, like, D&D going on. They had so much cool merch, so I was glad I got to stop in there. Again, we did, like, briefly see Hannah, but she was leading a tour in
Yep.
her Chrissy getup, which was so cute,
So
and
cute.
we did not get to see Donna. I was kinda bummed that we
Mm,
didn't get to see Donna from the escape room. We definitely need to go back because that was what
100%.
I was saying, like, I knew that it was gonna be like this, but I had invested so much money and time into the actual, like, con
Yeah.
that I was like, "That has to be my main focus," and I couldn't really do as much as I would have wanted to in Jackson,
Mhm.
and luckily, I had already been there once before, so I had seen the alley and stuff like that, so it wasn't that big of a deal that I didn't get to do those things, but I would love to go back and do them with you
Oh,
and, like,
100%.
do the escape room, like,
Mhm.
we have to go back and do that escape room,
Hell
like,
yeah, we do.
spend more time at Hawkins headquarters, maybe do one of their tours
Yep.
because even if we've seen all of the things on our own, it's just, like, fun to be a part of that
Yep.
and, like, get that interaction as well, so
Yeah, Georgia's definitely, especially Jackson, a place I would go to immediately because a lot of people kept like, approaching us going, "Oh, we saw your photos. You guys have gone to a lot of locations." And we were fortunate enough to have Thursday and Friday to do so. But much like New Orleans, and Philly with JQ, I felt like I didn't really get a chance to explore the cities because the con takes up so much time. I even said it to you. I was like, maybe in the future, I said I'd love to go back with you and just do more locations. And like you said, visit more of the local businesses because it would just be nice to do something where you don't have a set schedule. So obviously our show was our main priority, but we were very fortunate that Jackson was so involved that we were able to visit the businesses and go to the haunted house and visit Hawkins headquarters. And we even dined at a really good Mexican restaurant, which was
yeah,
in the town center.
that was so much fun. That was a nice little way to, like, end the night on Sunday. So there was a cute little Mexican restaurant on the square, and we had great food,
Oh,
margaritas,
so
chips
good.
and salsa. I think I had, like, what, shrimp enchiladas or something like that?
That was your theme throughout the weekend. Shrimp.
Yeah, shrimp. Yeah, I mean, I'm pescatarian, so sometimes it's, like, limited options at places, especially if I want some good protein, so shrimp and grits at the Mystic Grill, shrimp enchiladas at the
You
Mexican
living your best
restaurant.
shrimp life, yeah. I had, a chimichanga, I think?
Yeah, you loved that
Oh
thing.
my god, I inhaled it, and I was like, "Man, I'm gonna be on a plane in a few hours," but it was so good, and the drinks were good, and it was just nice to decompress,
Yeah.
talk, and stuff, and we had no idea that in the other room, there were some of our friends.
Yeah, so as they were leaving, we got to say hi. Cubby Collects was in there with his wife, Lauren, and Adam Murray, who we talked about, who was an actor on the show, and they came out and we were chatting with them.
Which did you see that Adam clocked my Uncle Buck tattoo?
You guys were
Only
chatting about that for a
2
while.
people, guys, have clocked it. I have Jay Underwood, who was in Uncle Buck, and he's kinda like the scummy boyfriend, and I only had 2 people ever clock it before. One was a dad in line for Joseph Quinn in New Orleans, and he said the same thing Adam said. First, "Is that Bug from Uncle Buck?" And then, "What would possess you to get that?" And then Adam was like, "I think it's awesome," and started quoting it, but fun fact, Jay Underwood played the original Johnny Storm in the unreleased Fantastic Four movie.
Yeah.
Full circle, people.
It all
It
connects.
all connects.
And then who else was in there? Haley. Haley and Steve were having Mexican
I hope
as
the
well.
suitcase was there too.
I think it might have been in the car,
God
but
damn it.
then we headed back to the Airbnb
Mhm.
for a few hours before I had to start
Ooh.
my farewell tour.
Yep.
So I picked I took you and Rachel to the airport at like 3 in the morning.
Girl, first of all, TSA, when you were like, "I breezed through it," I was like, "Well, you weren't there at 3 in the morning." It took forever, and
Yeah,
it's a
I bet.
huge airport. Huge.
apparently, guys, I don't know if this is always the case, but apparently the Atlanta airport sucks in the morning
Mhm.
because that's what happened to me last time that I flew out of Atlanta. I feel like my flight was at like 5 or 6 or or later than that, but that's what time I got to the airport,
Yeah.
and security was packed.
Oh my God.
And apparently that's how it was for you too, even though you would think that at 3 in the morning it would not be packed, but apparently it
It
is.
was packed. At one point, I got on that train you told me about, and there's 2 stops for each letter, and I, like, right away was like, "Wait, this is the last stop." So I think I must have been on camera because I was like, "Let me out, let me out." I was the last one on the fucking train. The doors opened. They took pity on me. But, yeah, there were 2 medical emergencies. Hope those people are fine. So my flight, and I was sitting in the middle. It was just there was a lot going on, but I didn't get airsick, so that was great. But it was definitely a bummer, like, to say goodbye to you, so quickly. Thank you for driving me to the airport. But I right away was like, wow, it's over, like that's why we definitely got to do it again. But what did you do with your final day? I know you drove Andy and Brandy eventually to the
Yeah.
airport.
So after that, I went back, laid down for a few hours, took Andy and Brandy to the airport, came back, laid down for a few hours.
You're a boss
And
ass bitch. I love that.
I got gas with you guys, which was smart
Mm.
because I was like, I don't want to have to get gas by myself.
Remember when the gas pump wasn't working? You were fucking done.
Yeah, that was that morning, right? I had to
Hmm.
like move the car. I had
So pissed.
bad luck with like that car, with like getting gas, with like getting on
We're
exits.
not going to name the gas station, but she picked one of the sketchiest fucking gas
That
stations.
was on Saturday or no, like Friday
It
maybe?
smelled like the devil's lettuce there. And then our friend Brandy was like, Stace, could you go and grab me a Red Bull? And I bought like a 10-foot Red Bull, and Brandy was pissed. She was like, why did you buy such a big one? I'm like, I don't know. We're on vacation. Yeah.
It was a really big Red Bull. She didn't finish it.
No.
But yeah, so then I got up, cleaned up a little bit at the Airbnb. Luckily, the Airbnb host was like great. They
Nice.
really didn't want me to do anything, but I like always try to like clean up a little bit, take the trash out and stuff. But that was when my primer broke, sad face.
Ugh.
But I feel like I had so much stuff. I was like, what is all this stuff that I've accumulated? But got myself packed up. And oh, and the other thing about that fucking car was my phone would never connect to the AirPlay or the Apple Play,
Yeah.
CarPlay, Apple CarPlay. Like it was annoying as shit. I did get it to like work a couple times on Monday, but it was like the most annoying thing that I've ever experienced in my life because
Mm.
I couldn't like see the directions or hear the radio through my phone. So anyway, I
Team fuck that car.
yeah, fuck that car.
The car that it had that one of those like ignition things where like if you
Oh, it
stop
would
at a light,
stop.
it'd stop.
Yeah, it turns
You
itself
were
off.
fucking done with that.
Yeah, it was that car, that was bad luck for the rental car because really we did not want that car to begin with. We wanted a Nissan Rogue, which is what I drive at home, and it's a little bigger than that, and hopefully it wouldn't have had all of these stupid issues, but I don't even remember what kind of car it was. It was like a small SUV, but like Rachel and I were trying not to take this car, but there was like nothing else available when we were leaving the airport. So
It got us to point A to point B.
it did. It worked out. They didn't say anything about the little scuffs on the
Girl.
side. So
Literally Friday morning, we all go up. We go, Megan, what is that? And you were like, what the fuck?
I was like, we did not do that. That
No.
must have been there already for the record here.
Yeah. You okay?
Enterprise, if you're listening.
Yeah. Damn. They won't pick us up.
Yeah, knock on wood. I'm going to be like getting an email tomorrow.
They're gonna be like,
oh.
we listen to the podcast, you bitches. Yeah.
So
This podcast
Anyway.
is not sponsored by Enterprise.
maybe someday.
Hmm.
And Airbnb can sponsor us too.
There you go.
So I went to Covington. I went back to Covington. So that was really cool because I, as most people know, definitely am a big fan of the Vampire Diaries. And we went and had lunch at the Mystic Grill on Friday, but
Mhm.
I was excited to go back. And there's a tour company there, again, not sponsored, but shout out Vampire Stalkers.
Oh,
and
I love that.
they have a cool little like trolley tour around the town. And I looked it up like the Tuesday before we left or something like that, just to randomly see if they had any spots left, and
Did you get
they
the
had
last one?
one spot. Yeah.
Girl.
And, actually, I looked out because they, like, gave me the seat up by the driver, which I feel like they don't, like, sell that seat, like, right away, like,
Mhm.
so they let me sit up front so I wasn't squeezed in with everybody, and
I love that.
the tour guides/drivers slash drivers were really sweet. I I guess I didn't really realize that, like, when the Vampire Diaries was filming, like, people that live around there would just watch all
Yep.
the time, which I feel like is not necessarily the case for Stranger Things. I feel like they keep it much more, like, locked down.
Yeah.
I mean, we did hear the people in Jackson talking a little bit about, like, watching filming,
Yeah.
but apparently they would watch it all the time when they were filming the Vampire Diaries, and those were longer seasons, so it was like those 24 episode seasons, so they're basically filming all year, and they're, like, filming the season as it's, like, happening
Well, it
already,
was really
so
sweet. There was a volunteer, I wanna say it was Saturday. They were like, yeah, it would always be in one direction, they were filming Vampire Diaries, and the other, they were filming The Walking Dead, and they even said it. They were like, "I miss those days," like, that must be
yeah.
so cool.
Yeah, so the tour guide was, like, basically saying, like, everything that she was telling us on the tour was basically either, like, firsthand information that she saw when she was watching filming,
Mhm.
or that her, like, boss that, like, owns the tour company had told her.
That's
So
cool.
they have, like, an exclusive partnership with, like, the couple that owns one of the buildings that was used prominently in the show, the Lockwood Mansion, so we were able to go on their property
That's cool.
and, like, chat with them and, like, go in their backyard, and it's, like, this beautiful, beautiful, like, property, and they filmed a lot of, like, important scenes there, inside and outside, so
Is that
that was really
where you
cool.
took the photo where you can see your tote bag?
Yes.
That was
Wasn't that
beautiful. That
gorgeous?
was gorgeous.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was a beautiful day that day. I really lucked out. So we got to like also go see like some of the other houses that like are important places, like Elena's front porch is like a really important part of the show,
Mhm.
and some other like porches, but we were able to take a photo on Elena's porch
That's awesome.
and like at some of the other houses and stuff. So that was cool to go on that tour. And it starts at like the visitor center in Covington. And that visitor center is super cool because it has lots of stuff from the Vampire Diaries, but then like other things that also filmed in Covington, which I'm like
Dukes of
blanking
Hazzard.
on. Yes, Dukes of Hazzard, some other things. So it was cool. And then I went back over to the square
Mhm.
because there's a couple local businesses. So there's something called the Mystic Mercantile, and it's a shop, like a gift shop.
Oh,
But in
cool.
the back, they've actually built like a replica of the Salvatore boarding house entrance, which is where
Oh,
like
wow.
Damon and Stefan, the brothers, like the house that they live in.
Okay.
So you kind of go in the door, and all of the brick is like from the set. Inside, it's like basically like their living room.
Mhm.
And everything in there is either from the set or like a replica of something that
Oh,
was from
wow.
the
Damn.
set, and it's really well done. So that was really cool. So I was about to go in there, and then I actually texted Alexis, and she was coming out of Mystic Grill. So I ran back outside and met up with her in the gift shop below Mystic
That's
Grill
awesome.
and got to chat with her for a little bit because we did see her at the con, but she was just so busy,
Yeah.
like, with everything. So I went in and just talked to her for a little bit while looking around the gift shop, and then they were headed off to do something else because she was with her daughter and they had like a long day kind of ahead of them before their flight.
Mhm.
And went back to the Mystic Merc, went in there, went in a couple other shops on the square, got myself some lunch at the Social Goats, which was
Nice.
also highly recommended by Alexis and the Epic Girls. So I had fish tacos
Ooh, girl.
there.
I love that.
And of course, I had to have a cocktail with the Brothers Bond bourbon again. But it was funny because I asked, like, should I get the fried fish tacos or the Baja fish tacos? And the server or the bartender was really great because she was like, get the fried fish tacos with the sauce from the Baja tacos. I was like,
Ooh,
yes.
nice.
So that was great. And then next door was the local, which was the coffee shop that was a vendor at the con.
Yep.
So I had gotten coffee there both mornings, or no, Saturday
Oh,
morning,
good, yeah.
because Sunday morning we got coffee at the coffee shop in the square.
That was cool. Decorated so cool.
It was funny because I was getting my coffee and they were really friendly in there. And I was like, yeah, I'm headed to the airport. I need some caffeine.
Mhm.
And then they were talking about the convention
Ah!
and they were like, yeah, it was so cool. And I was like, it was cool. I was there. And they were like, oh, you were there. And I was like, yeah, you guys made me my coffee on Saturday morning and I appreciate it. It got me through
Love
the
that.
day.
Yep. Love that.
So they were super friendly. And I was like, oh, hopefully I'll see you again sometime because definitely want to go back to Covington. I was
100%.
even telling my friends, I have like a group of friends from college, and one of them has watched The Vampire Diaries. So I really want to like, especially go back with her. But I was telling them that like, it is the cutest little town. Like it would be the perfect town for like a like girls trip getaway,
Mhm.
even if you have not read. I mean, even if you have not watched The Vampire Diaries, because it was just such a cute little town. So definitely also want to go back there sometime.
Love that.
Yeah, but then I went, dropped off the rental car, headed to the airport. Luckily, security was a breeze.
Lucky
There was like
bastard.
hardly anybody on the train, like to get to my gate. I don't know, like I went, my flight was at like 9:30. So I think I
Wow.
got to the airport around 6-ish.
Smart.
And
Yeah.
yeah, it was pretty much cleared out by that point. So lucked out, waited for my flight. Like you said, was definitely sad to be leaving.
It was. I found myself kind of the next day at Logan Airport, AK hell on earth. I was just sitting on my bus and like I choked up a few times. And I was like, wow, that really was such a fun time, you know?
Yeah,
Very lucky.
absolutely.
Very, very lucky.
Yeah, we're super grateful that we had this experience. We've had a fun time sharing it with everybody.
Mhm.
So thanks for listening. But next up is we are going to be talking to a bunch of other people that were at the convention.
Yep.
So I'm so excited to just hear other people's experiences as well, because even just like talking to you, we weren't together the whole time. So it
Yeah.
was so fun to like hear about when you went to the panel or when you went to a photo op that I didn't do. So to be able to hear about other people and the experiences they had and the things that we might have missed. So we're really excited about that. So yeah, we're going to be recording a bit more over the next couple weeks, and we'll get it out to you as soon as we can.
All right, guys. Over and out.
Over and out.